With Bitcoin's price at 87K and the price looking to be manipulated, there doesn't seem to be much to cheer about heading into the holidays, other than the Cowboys getting eliminated from the playoffs again and the Eagles being back-to-back NFC East champions. Well, wait, that's not completely true. There are some bright spots, like Michael Selleck, the new appointed CFTC chairman, who stated in his opening press release that his goal was to make America the crypto capital of the world. Or Scott Bessent going on the All In podcast saying that 2025 was just the groundwork and the feast is going to come in 2026.
I would categorize 2025. We had some important victories, some important policy announcements, some important movement. But as I've described it, 2025 was setting the table. And especially on the economy, I think the feast and the banquet's going to be in 2026.
The Bitcoin bulls haven't lost any faith in the orange coin, and neither should you. In fact, they continue to buy and beef up their reserves. In times like these, we need to look at the OGs, the vets, the people who've been there, done that, and follow their actions, even though we don't feel like that's the right thing to do. Are they convicted or are they selling? We need to be looking at what's coming next and not what's happened in the past. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you today. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Let's go.
What do you say to people right now panicking, really losing their minds that Bitcoin is in the I believe it's $86,000 range right now?
So the first thing is don't use leverage. If you can't handle a 25% drawdown in Bitcoin, then you should, and you're using leverage positions on some sort of derivatives platform, stop. You can't handle it. Like this is, I've been doing this for, I've been involved in pretty much every major cycle since Bitcoin was created, and like a 25% drawdown over a few weeks is not that big of a deal.
A drawdown of 25% is not a big deal. This is coming from someone like Arthur Hayes, who's been around Bitcoin since the beginning. People who are investors versus people who are traders are going to disproportionately win in scenarios like these. Why would you be trading Bitcoin when we're on the brink of deregulation in DC?
I'd say crypto is actually probably the most bipartisan issue in DC right now. And about 90% of the text of those drafts, in my view, has been agreed upon. So there's a few details to get worked out, but it sounds like they really want to push for Senate committee votes maybe in early next year.
The crypto market structure bill is the only bipartisan thing on the table that's likely to pass as soon as we get into 2026. Also, we're getting tailwinds from leadership like Michael Selleck, the new CFTC chairman, who said in the past that his goal is to make America the crypto capital of the world and to deregulate.
Yeah, so the goal is deregulation. The goal is kind of making the United States the crypto capital of the world and also the best place to do business in the world. And part of what adds burden to operating a business or engaging in commerce, right, are these regulations. And sometimes they're very duplicative. Sometimes they're unnecessary. I mean, I think our chairman most recently, talking about a form PF, mentioned that, we should have the minimum amount of disclosures necessary. You shouldn't be imposing additional burdens where it's not needed. And so we're certainly taking a hard look in line with the president's directive to make sure that all of our regulations are what's necessary, no more than what's necessary. And I think that's really the idea. There are some administrative requirements due to this executive order around.
When I think about the time that we're in right now with digital assets and AI, I do think about Alan Greenspan in the 1990s when he let interest rates come down and he let the economy run hot when they were looking at the beginning of the innovations of the internet and the dot-com boom. We needed those innovations and we needed that boom and those tailwinds in order for those innovations to fully bloom and for America to become the dominant player in technology. And people in those scenarios were looking at companies like Amazon thinking that they sold the top. The equivalent of selling the top in Amazon in 2000 would have been at 47 cents. And now it's over $220 a share. So they missed out on a 440x because of a short-term thinking and short-term mindset. In times like these, we need to look at people who have a long-term view, like Michael Saylor.
We're up to 3.2% of the entire supply. It cost us $50 billion to get to 3.2%. I'm thinking that the next $50 billion won't get me 3.2. It'll probably get me 1% or less. And I'm thinking if I come up with a few $100 billion, I might, what I've said is if we get to 5% of the network, Bitcoin's going to be $1 million a coin. If I get to 7.5% of the network, it'll be 10 million a coin. So think of it as I'm buying something getting exponentially more expensive, using exponentially more money and where do we top out? You know, I think we top out between 5 and 7.5%, and then we just exponentially slow down, right? And the rest of the network is right now. It's, you know, after $100 billion of money from BlackRock and $50 billion from us, 85% of the Bitcoin is held by the OGs.
Exactly.
After the next $1 trillion from the big institutions, maybe it'll be 75% will be held by the OGs. So think of us as powering the network up, and we're pushing against an exponentially hardening asset. And that's the way it should be. Look, 95% of the Bitcoin's been mined. By the year 2035, 99%. That last 1% of Bitcoin comes out between the year 2035 and the year 2140. It's 100 years to get the last 1%. And so we look at it like that, and we will just be like the little engine that could. We will keep, you know, turning the crank.
Michael Saylor's talking about trillions of capital here. 2035, when the Bitcoin supply is going to be at over 99% issued, when there's going to be an exponential amount of capital flowing into an exponentially hardening asset. In times like these, I go back to old conversations, like the conversation he had with Laura Shin in 2021, when she was talking about Bitcoin being at $30,000 when their average purchase price was at $16,000 at MicroStrategy, and asking if he was going to sell his shares or sell the profits that he had in the company. Listen to what he's saying. Listen to his long-term approach and mindset when he answers her with this question. And he answered her with the most famous quote of the third halving. If you have the superior asset, it's going up forever, Laura.
So MicroStrategy's average purchase price was a little less than 16,000. And right now, you know, the price is about 33,000. So you've more than doubled your investment. And most likely by the end of the year, we're probably going to be in some kind of bubble, I imagine. So the return will be even higher. And you've said that you didn't buy the Bitcoin to sell it. But would MicroStrategy ever take some off the table when you sense the market is at a top and then just buy in later when there's another correction? Or do you just plan to hodl through all the cycles, you know, and weather those, you know, whatever 80% downturns when the crypto markets are in a bear market?
Yeah, again, I just disagree with your characterization. I don't expect an 80% downturn. I don't think it's a speculative asset, and I don't think you can quote unquote take money off the table. You know, you're speaking like a crypto trader right now, right? Like, yeah, I mean, maybe you're doing it just to represent their interest, but I don't see the world that way. I think that Bitcoin is sound money. It's the technically superior asset class compared to the dollar, the euro, the peso, the bolivar, compared to a stock index, compared to gold, compared to silver, compared to everything you can conceivably buy. It is technically, thermodynamically superior as an asset. So when you say things like that to me, and maybe you just do it just to see what I'll say back, I just imagine you preaching to me in Argentina while you're asking me if I'm going to sell the dollars and buy pesos back again as the peso sleeps from 20 to the dollar to 40 to the dollar to 80 to the dollar. Or if we're in, you know, Venezuela. I mean, you think a Venezuelan company is going to, like, quote unquote, take some money off the table by selling their U.S. stocks and their U.S. dollars to buy back into local currency. So then, you know, in Zimbabwe, you think they would take money off the table, right? Like, the point is, if you have the superior asset, it's going up forever, Laura.
And that moment is exactly what inspired me to create this bourbon. This was a bourbon built from this ethos of, if you have the superior asset, it's going up forever, Laura. And that's why I've had these Laura bottles behind me. I made this bottle of bourbon specifically for Bitcoiners and to thank of all of the people who've been influential to me and others in this journey. I'm super excited for you all to be able to check it out today. Go to laurabourbon.com to learn more about this specific moment and this specific bourbon built for Bitcoiners. Before we go any further in our episode today, let's thank our sponsors. Ledn has been the leader in Bitcoin Bitcoin-backed loans since 2018, and they're going to be one of the major beneficiaries as we move to deregulate and as we move into Bitcoin-backed products here in the future. They've been doing this for 7 years. They've issued over $9 billion worth of loans to tens of thousands of customers without losing a single cent or sat of customer money. There's no credit checks, and fiat can be in your account in less than 6 hours. They have this process down to a science, and they have it secure with your Bitcoin held in cold storage and in a wallet address that you can see in the platform. The application takes just 2 minutes. Go to learn.ledn.ao/simply to get started. And as you go into this next bull market, you're going to want to be coached up on how to take full sovereignty and full custody of your Bitcoin, not just buying it on an exchange after you see an ad from Coinbase during an NBA game. You need to be able to remove that Bitcoin, withdraw that Bitcoin, write down your seed phrase on a 12 or 24 word basis, and take sovereignty of your Bitcoin in your journey. While you don't want to do that alone, and you want to learn how to do that the right way, privately, confidently, safely, and securely. So schedule a free 30-minute consultation with the team at thebitcoinway.com. Their team will help you walk through step-by-step how to do this in the proper way so that you can be sovereign over your assets.
Like everybody's got their own view of what Bitcoin is. Like what I'm doing is I'm selling billions of dollars of digital credit, and I'm taking the money and I'm buying Bitcoin. Okay, that's my application of Bitcoin. Some people don't like that. Some people wouldn't do that. That's their choice. If we fail in the market, we won't raise any more money. If you come up with another idea, like, if your bank's going to, some people don't want banks to custody Bitcoin and issue credit on Bitcoin. But, it's like at the end of the day, some people don't want governments to buy it. Some people don't want companies to buy it. Some people don't want anybody with more money than them to buy it, right? Some people don't like the ETFs, right? My view is the network is going to be most successful if we are inclusive. And if our message is hundreds of governments, tens of thousands of banks, millions of corporations, and billions of families, and billions of people, they're all able to use Bitcoin however they wish. Let them do it. The winners will win, right? The bad ideas will lose. The market, the network will evolve. And
listen to his long-term mindset here. Hundreds of governments, tens of thousands of banks, millions of corporations, and billions of people. That type of thinking is what makes him an innovator. And it's what's going to make Bitcoin the defining digital asset and monetary innovation of the next century. If you're thinking about Bitcoin's price falling from 120K to 87K, well, you're not thinking out far enough. You're thinking like that was the top at 126K, like selling Amazon at 47 cents in 2000. Don't miss the big returns by being a trader. Be an investor. And if you have the superior asset, you don't sell it, Laura. If you want to continue to stack sats while you sleep, well, there's no better people to work with than the team at Sazmining, the Bitcoin miners that are 100% aligned with Bitcoin values. You get to buy a state-of-the-art Bitcoin mining rig, and the contract has no markups, no middlemen, just straight sats that are sent from them when they make a profit, minus your electricity costs, straight to your wallet. You get a state-of-the-art mining rig that mines Bitcoin with 100% carbon-free, renewable energy sources. Stack sats while you sleep like Satoshi. Use the QR code to get started with Sazmining today. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Happy stacking and happy holidays.